7th grade, this video is going to focus primarily on the assessment you took on Thursday on sourcing. If you were absent or you did not take the assessment, I will give you the assessment on Monday, but it will be a different assessment because I will go over that original assessment during this video. For homework for the weekend, please make sure to complete your essay before Friday night or before midnight tonight. Otherwise, it'll be considered late. For homework, please also do this video. This video is only required for anyone that got an S minus, or an N, or if you really want to do it because you want to review the responses. Even if you got an M, that's fine. But I will mainly be focusing on those students that got an S minus, or an N because SPEC's coming and we want to make sure that you're ready for it. For Monday, before you come back Monday, I also want you to do your notes for listening so that you are prepared to take the assessment on Monday. On Monday, you'll have about 15 minutes to take the assessment, so you won't have much time to take notes on it because I am going to give you the listening before. I'm going to give you the listening today, Friday. So please make sure to do that. So again, to summarize, your essays due Friday night. This Reteach video that you're listening to right now is due before you come back on Monday for anyone that got an S minus, or an N. Optional for anyone that got an S plus or an M. If you got an S plus and you want to retake this, and you want to retake the assessment, you have to do the video. If you don't do this video and you got an S minus, or an N, you won't be able to retake it because I do go over the common mistakes. And I also want you to do your listening notes. I'll be checking for those on Monday. For the listening notes, it'll be posted in Classroom, and it looks like this one. It's called Canada. If it works, it's just it's a minute and 44 seconds. Okay. Right now, I'm going to go over the assessment you guys took on Thursday, and go over the entire assessment so that we understand what the mistakes were. Okay. And you'll be able to see what are the common issues. So the first one, it was talking about it was a science source. A student is writing a research report about the 17th century scientist Isaac Newton for science class. Resource one and directions that follow. So source 1 says, letter from John Clark, member of the Royal Science Society. Mr. Isaac Newton has just published a wonderful new book. We know that the planet's paths around the sun follow the shape of an ellipse. An ellipse is like a circle, but it's like a flat circle, which is rather like a squash circle. In his book, Newton explains the 3 laws of motion and force called gravity. The laws of motion and gravity together explain why the planets orbit the sun and the way they do, and do not fly into space. So this is talking about how gravity works. This is such an exciting news for our society members. We have long wondered what held the planets in place as they made their curved way around the sun. With Mr. Newton's explanation and figures, we now understand why. This man is a genius. So this is talking about how Isaac Newton discovered this new force called gravity. And then for the second one, it says, or the instructions, the student found another source. So here you're going to read source 2. Write down 2 sentences that have information that disagree with this. So we need to find 2 sentences from source 2 that disagree with source 1. So let's find them. Most people know of Sir Isaac Newton and have at least some knowledge of his accomplishments in science. Newton is given credit for developing 3 laws of motion. Okay. Still nothing. Scientific ideas that explain how and when objects move, and laws of gravity. Together, those laws explain why planets orbit the sun in shapes of an ellipse. So still nothing yet, right? We haven't found anything here that disagrees with this here. Together, those laws explain why planets orbit the sun in the shape of an ellipse. Scientists now believe that the credit for explaining the planet's orbit should be shared with Robert Hooke. So this sounds like disagrees with this. right? Because this looks like he was the one that developed these ideas, but here this says that actually this guy actually did it. So this is your first sentence that disagrees with this. Hooke is mostly unknown today, but he was a brilliant scientist. Some of you guys made this, some of you guys picked this. Some of you guys picked this here, this sentence. But the sentence has nothing to do with Newton. Okay, so that's why that's wrong. No one argues the brilliance of Newton's 1687 book, but evidence exists that Hooke came up with his ideas 20 years before Newton's book. So this is the second sentence, right? Because this one actually says that it wasn't Newton that did it, it was him. So that's why that's incorrect. Or some of you guys got it wrong because of that. Yeah, most of you got this question correct. Right, you needed to find two sentences that disagree with this. Here, this source one is mainly saying how Newton did it and how he's responsible for this new discovery. And this one says it wasn't actually him, it was someone else. Okay, moving on. This one, a student is writing a research report for history class about the Hoover Dam. Read both sources. So here you needed to, and I give you guys a blank piece of paper. So whenever you get a source, find a big idea. Find a big idea from source one, big idea from source two, and then it's going to ask you to find the responses that properly summarize or paraphrase both responses. All right, source one, the history of the Hoover Dam. In 1928, the federal government passed the Boulder Canyon Project Act to build a dam in Boulder Canyon, Nevada. Over the years, nearly 16,000 men and women worked on the dam, which was completed in 1935. When it was finished, it measured 700 feet high and 1,244 feet wide, 1,244 feet wide. It could store up water flow from the Colorado River, which benefited the western states of Arizona, California, Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico, Utah, and Wyoming. In 1947, Congress made the dam named the Hoover. In 1947, Congress named the dam after Herbert Hoover, a former United States president who spent many years arranging for the dam to be built. Hoover felt that the dam was one of the greatest human-made structures ever built. So the big idea here, you could have talked about location. You could have talked about size of the dam, name of the dam, location is impact of the dam. So again, you could have talked about many things, okay? For the second one, the benefits, and this looks like it's gonna talk about the benefits. The benefits of the Hoover Dam are varied and numerous. Benefits mean the good things that came out of it. The dam will be constructed for the purpose of controlling the floods, improving navigation, and regulating the flow of the Colorado River. The structure will provide for the storage and delivery of the water, thereby recovering public lands. Another favorable use, which will benefit the United States, will be the generation of hydroelectrical energy. The student, and then we have the instructions, right? The student took notes about information in the source. Select two notes that correctly paraphrase or restate information from both sources. So it can't just be one source, right? It needs to be both sources combined. So let's look at these. This one doesn't make sense. This one doesn't make sense because it's only source one. President Herbert Hoover and Congress approved the construction, so this one's only source one. So that's why this is wrong. Okay? This one. This one, Herbert Hoover. This one, Congress passed an act to approve construction of the Herbert Hoover Dam, which then took thousands of people. So this one's only mainly source one as well. The next one, the Hoover Dam, which took a great deal of effort to build. So this one talks about the effort. Took a long time and a lot of people. Was created to supply water and electricity to several western states and to keep the Colorado River from flooding. The Colorado River from flooding talks about this one, source two. So that's one of the correct answers. President Hoover, again, you have to understand when it says President Hoover, it only talks about this one. It doesn't talk about, I know that some of you guys are like, well, it says a Hoover Dam, but it doesn't actually talk about the president. on this one. That's why that's wrong. This one, the one that 62% of you or 66% of you guys got right. Congress had the Hoover Dam built to harness the Colorado River's flow so it will keep from flooding so people from western states. So this one talks about the western states. Yeah? Western states. And then the flooding. Okay? I know this one was a little more challenging. The easiest way to do this is just eliminate them. It says pick two, so eliminate the ones that are wrong. The ones that are in gray are obviously wrong because it's only in one source. The building of the Hoover Dam gave employment to thousands of people who needed work in the Great Depression. I think this one is mainly the first one. Yeah, it's only the first one. Okay. Let's keep going. A student is researching climate adaptations to strategies for a science project. The student found a source. Found a source. Read the source and select two claims that the author makes that are not supported by credible sources. Credible or trustworthy sources. A lot of you did really well on this one, but some of you guys actually gave me the source and I did not want the source. Another mistake that I saw was that some of you guys gave me only one response when I asked for two. So let's find the ones that are not reliable. Communities worldwide are implementing various strategies to adapt to climate change impacts. This is a claim. And let's see if this claim is reliable or trustworthy. It comes from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So this one looks like it's a reliable source. It comes from this administration that's in the country. Okay? Reports that coastal flooding events in the U.S. have increased 50% since 2000, necessitating new infrastructure approaches. Urban areas face this is another claim. Urban areas face particular challenge due to heat and effects. Urban is where people like the cities. So that's another claim. Let's see if this claim is good. According to the study published in Environmental Health Perspective, this is another, it looks like a reliable source, right? Environmental Health Perspective, it's a study. So that one's fine. One promising adaptation strategy is installing a green roof. So let's look at this one. We don't even know what green roofs are, but it doesn't even matter that you don't know. I don't even know what green roofs are. But let's see where it comes from. A popular environmental blog found. So this one's a blog online. So this is the first claim that you should have picked because it comes from a popular online blog, environmental blog. A blog is something that people can just do online. Like it's just something that we don't know where it comes from. It can be anyone. It's like Wikipedia, like anyone can edit it. So this one should have been your first response because it comes from a blog. Let's keep going. Water conservation will be crucial as precipitation patterns change. That's another claim right here. And let's see where it comes from. The U.S. Geological Survey. So this one looks like it's a reliable source. It comes from a geological survey is people that are scientists. Okay, so that's a fine one. Community-based adaptation efforts often prove most successful. This is another claim. It comes from this guy named Dr. James Wilson, an urban planning specialist, so at Stanford University. Some of you picked that one, and I'm like, wait, this is a pretty good, reliable source. It comes from a professor at Stanford University. Let's keep going. There's another one. Agricultural adaptation must include crop diversification. We don't even know what that means, right? Most of us don't know what that means. I know what that means. Crop diversification simply means don't plant the same thing. For example, don't just plant beans, don't just plant corn. Instead, plant many different types of plants so that if one of them dies, you have other ones. This one is the second one you should have picked because it comes from a local gardener, some gardener. We don't know what his credentials are. We don't know if he's reliable. So that's the second one you should have picked. Most of you guys did fine, but there's a couple of you that picked ones that I was like, wait, why would you pick that one? Because that looks like a reliable source. Okay, so I'm gonna get to the ones that a lot of you guys missed, and we'll see why, okay? A student is writing an argumentative report about dogs learning words. She found possible sources, so she found source 1 and source 2. So source 1, studies have found that some dogs can learn and remember new words almost as well as a 3-year-old. So this one, this statement says that dogs can remember words, right? And we'll get to the critical thinking part in a second. In 2004, scientists at the Max Planck Institute of Animal Anthropology found that a border collie named Fido understood at least 200 words. So understand them like food, grandma, car, snack, treat, walk, stuff like that. They put 10 objects in a room and told Fido to fetch one of the objects. So they put 10 objects, maybe a shoe, maybe a toy or whatever. So they put 10 objects and then asked him to fetch one. When he brought the object back, they told him to put it in a box or to give it to somebody. Fido performed the task correctly almost every time. Then this sentence. Next, researchers put an object Fido had never seen in a room with 6 of Fido's familiar toys. So maybe Fido had never seen a banana. Okay, let's pretend it was a banana. They put 6 objects, and one of them was a banana, and the other 5 he knew. He knew the other 5, but the 6th one he didn't know. When they told him to fetch the new object using an unfamiliar name, so they're like, go get the banana. So Fido needs to actually know that the banana is the object he doesn't know, he's never seen before, because he's using his critical thinking skills to eliminate the ones that he does know. This is going to be important, right? So he is using some sort of critical thinking, right? He's never seen this object before. But he knows the other 5. He eliminates those, so he's like, it must be the one that I haven't seen. When they told him to fetch the new object using an unfamiliar name, Fido returned with the correct object most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. To succeed, Fido needed to rule out the familiar objects. Then he needed to decide the remaining object must be the unfamiliar one. I hope that makes sense, because a lot of us miss this question. So that's source 2. So source 1 shows that they can remember, dogs can remember certain things, certain names, and they can also use some critical thinking. Source 2, a researcher read that a border collie named Fido had learned more than 200 objects. Then he taught his own border collie, Chaser, the names of over 1,000 objects. Chaser could find both the correct object and place it where she was told. She will fetch and deliver objects in response to different commands. Chaser was never tired of performing her training and tests. Now, this one doesn't talk about how the new dog, Chaser, is able to critically think. Source 2 does not talk about critical thinking. It just talks about remembering. Remembering is not the same thing as critical thinking, right? This one talks about how the dog can eliminate objects he knows and critically think and find the object that's being requested. It must be the one that she doesn't know. This one doesn't talk about that. So let's look at these. Dogs may be able to think critically. Only source 1 is a correct answer for that one. This one, source 2, only talks about, yes, you see Fido here, but they don't actually talk about Fido being able to critically think. They only talk about how he learned the names of 200 objects. So that's the reason why 37% of you guys got this question wrong, or correct, because you said source 2 as well. It wasn't source 2, it was only source 1. Okay? The next one. Dogs can learn and understand words for both objects and actions. So objects and actions. So here, there was something where he gives it to someone. They told him to put it, oh, here it goes. This is the action. They told him to put it in a box or to give it to someone. This is the action. Do this. Remember the object that you're grabbing. That's one thing. And then give it to someone or put it in a certain place. So this is the action here. For this one, here, the action is place it where she was told. So put it somewhere where you need to put it. So that's the action. So that's why it's both sources, not just source one. This one was much better. Border collies can learn more words than other dogs breeds. Nowhere does it say that border collies can learn more objects than can learn more words than other dogs. It doesn't say that anywhere. Okay, but most of you guys got this question right. I hope you guys understand. This one was a harder one because you actually have to really think about the question. Okay, this one, most of you guys did fine with this one. A student is writing a research report about the black holes for science class. She found a credible source. All right, the black holes consist of large amounts of matter packed into a small space. The pull of gravity from inside the space traps and pulls everything that approaches it into the space. So it's saying how these black holes, these stars that have collapsed, pull everything that is close to them, including light. Black holes cannot be seen with the human eye, but scientists know they are there. Once matter is pulled into the hole, it is trapped forever. This source says that matter is trapped forever. Forever. Black holes are common in outer space and can be found in different sizes. Now, the source 2 is a different source, obviously. But look at the question. The student found another source, source 2. Read source 2 and write one sentence that has information that does not agree with information from source 1. So you're going to find something here that disagrees with something here. This one says that black holes exist, that they pull everything and it's stuck forever, right? The pull of gravity from inside the black hole traps and pulls everything that approaches it into space, including lights. Once matter is pulled into the hole, it is trapped forever. So let's look. Black holes are like overstuffed suitcases. Still, I mean, that doesn't disapprove. That doesn't disagree with the other one. A whole lot packed into a small space. The extreme amount of gravity inside the black hole traps almost everything, including light. Still the same. Though we cannot see them on our own, black holes are plentiful in space. Still agrees. The size of a single black hole can vary greatly from compared to another. However, even tiny black holes have large mass. When matter is pulled into a black hole, a small amount escapes through a process called Hawkins radiation. This disagrees with this. Source 1 says that once matter is pulled into a black hole, it's there forever, trapped forever. But this one actually says that some of it escapes. So that disagrees, right? I hope that makes sense. So that is the correct answer. Let's look at this one. We got a couple more. Got 2 more. Sleepwalking. A student is writing an argumentative report about the causes of sleepwalking. She found possible sources for her reports. Read the source and the directions that follow. Sleepwalking is a sleep problem where someone gets up and walks around while still asleep. It usually happens during the deepest part of sleep. When someone is sleepwalking, they usually don't answer if you talk to them or touch them. If they do answer, their words often don't make sense. Some sleepwalkers just walk around quietly, while others might act upset or try to leave the room. So that's source 1. Source 2. Sleepwalking happens most often in kids, especially between childhood and the teenage years. Some adults sleepwalk too, but it's more common in children. Sleepwalking is often passed on in families, which means it might be passed down from parent to children, so it's genetic. If your parents are sleepwalkers, you probably might be sleepwalking too. Other things like environmental or health problems can cause someone to sleepwalk. People have known about sleepwalking for a very long time, since before the time of the famous Greek Dr. Hippocrates. And then source 3. Many things can lead to sleepwalking. Some people sleepwalk when they are really tired or don't have a regular bedtime. Stress or worry can also cause it. Certain health problems like heart issues, seizures, and sleep apnea can lead to sleepwalking. Some people sleepwalk after taking specific medications. So now we're going to look at the claims, right? The first one, it says a person who appears awake and active might be asleep and unaware of their actions. Source 2 doesn't talk about how people behave when they are sleepwalking. Source 1 doesn't talk about how people behave when they are sleepwalking. I'm sorry, this is source 2. And source 1 does. When someone is sleepwalking, they usually don't answer if you touch them. Sometimes their words don't make sense. Sometimes they walk around quietly, and sometimes they might act upset. It was only source one. For people that, for if you pick this one, I want you to go back and find evidence for that because there isn't. There isn't evidence to support this claim in source two or source three. People don't really know what's happening around them when they sleepwalk. Again, if you pick this one and this one, I want you to go back and look, find the evidence. Where does it say that? Where does it say that people don't know what's happening around them? It's only source one, again, right here. It was here somewhere. That's source two. Sorry. Look. Source two doesn't show what people are doing when, or how people are behaving. And the next one, sticking to a consistent sleep schedule could reduce the chances of sleepwalking for some. Now, some of you, because you saw the word sleep, you're like, oh, it's source two. So this one, sticking to a consistent sleep schedule can reduce. So let's look at source two again. Sleepwalking happens most often in kids, especially between childhood and the teenage years. Some adults sleepwalk too, but it's more common in children. Sleepwalking is often passed in families, which means it might be passed down from parents to children. Other things like environmental health or problems can cause someone to sleepwalk. People have known about sleepwalking for a very long time. Where does it say anything about sticking to a consistent schedule for source two? A consistent schedule means, go to bed by 9, get up at 6. Like, don't be up too late. Right? It's only source 3. It's only source 3. Let's look at source 3. Many things can lead to sleepwalking. Some people sleepwalk when they are really tired or don't have a regular bedtime. Right? Regular bedtime means, you go to bed by a certain time every day and you wake up by a certain time every day. That's what this was. And the last one. Actually, I deleted one of them because it was confusing. And then we have the last one. So again, your assessment on Monday, your retake, will be very similar to what you saw today. You have to go back and look at the claims. Go back and look at the claim and then go find evidence for it. If you can't find evidence, don't pick that source. Again, some of these are inferencing based, right? Source 1, a study of changing memories. In this study on how memories are constructed, participants were told a story about a girl whose family trip was canceled. In the story, the girl's friends noticed how upset she was, so he threw a party for her on the day she would have left. After hearing the story, half of the participants in the study were asked about how the girl must have felt. The other half, meanwhile, answered questions about her friend and why he threw the party. 1 week later, the study participants were asked to retell the story they heard. Most participants forgot some details and invented others. The participants that answered questions about the girl's feelings were most likely to invent details about how sad she felt. However, the participants who were asked about her friend were most likely to make up details about the plans he made for the party. The student found another source. Write down one sentence in source 2 that supports the information from source 1. So let me read this again. In this study on how memories are constructed, participants were told about a story about a girl whose family trip was canceled. So some girl's family trip was canceled. In the story, the girl's friends noticed how upset she was, so he threw a party for her on the day she would have left. So this guy is throwing a party because he wants to make her feel better. After hearing the story, half of the participants in the study were asked about how the girl must have felt. The other half, meanwhile, answered questions about her friend and why he threw the party. 1 week later, the study participants were asked to retell the story they heard. Most of the participants forgot some detail and invented others. The participants that answered questions about the girl's feelings were more likely to invent details about how sad she felt. So people invent details. However, the participants who were asked about her friend were more likely to make up details about the plans he made for the party. So it sounds like we make up stuff. So here we're gonna find one sentence in source 2 that supports the information from source 1. Most people think they have accurate memories. Years of research have shown that we rebuild our memories and rebuild them with to fill in the gaps with things that seem right. For example, we sometimes change memories to fit our beliefs. Some of you guys picked this one. This one doesn't really support this. Um, if I feel that I'm a caring person, I may remember being more helpful than I really was on a certain day. Other times, if we think a lot about one part of memory, we exaggerate how much we really know about it. Lastly, we can be tricked into remembering something that did not happen if we once heard someone claim it did. The correct answer was this was one of the correct answers. Years of research have shown that we rebuild our memories. Um, the other one, there's another one. I only had you guys pick one. So years of research, and other times we think a lot about one's part of memory, we exaggerate how much we really know about it. Okay. I would like you to get 80% on this video and be ready by Monday. Um, SBAC is coming, and there's just a lot of work that we need to get done. Next week, we're focusing on narrative writing and a little bit of argumentative writing. I don't know if I will give you a whole assessment for narrative writing, but we are going to review it, and you are going to be assessed on the different parts of it. Please keep working hard. You guys are amazing.